On today's show, our search for a top-line winger continues. Is Alexis Lafrenière a trade fit for the Ottawa Senators?
And there's a pair of Sens players at the World Championships.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller. Today is Monday, May 11th, and Pillsy, did it make you feel a little bit better that the Carolina Hurricanes swept their series against the Philadelphia Flyers?
Absolutely. I think I speak for all Sens fans here. It's a weird thing to be like, oh, I hope the next team suffers just as bad as we suffered so that we can feel better. That is cope right there. Other fan bases that want to reply that 100%. We're taking a dose of copium this morning and on Saturday night. Ross, you and I were both watching the game, texting back and forth, hoping that the Carolina Hurricanes got this done, not just for our ego, but also for our FanDuel accounts. We were betting on it as well, putting our money where our mouth was. But I mean, Ross, you did a deep dive, and the similarities between how the Carolina Hurricanes dismantled, took care of the Ottawa Senators and the Philadelphia Flyers were very, very similar.
Yeah, they were similar. Ottawa was a little bit better in almost every area. And look, Ottawa gave up 11 goals. Philadelphia gave up 13. You could add the context that 2 of the goals the Senators allowed were empty netters. None of Phillies were. So really, it was 9-5, the final score.
Nice.
Hey? You like that?
Yeah, that's big.
Even though if you take out both empty net goals from game 4, it would have gone to overtime because of the sequencing of them. Empty net goal, Ottawa tie or makes it a 1-goal game again, and then the other empty netter. But overall, like, the Hurricanes just give you nothing, and that trend continued with Philadelphia. Ottawa allowed or gave up 135 shots to Ottawa, that was, and Philadelphia was 136. So it's ridiculous how good this Hurricanes team is. You look at Philadelphia, 9.7 expected goals. Ottawa had 14. Ottawa had a better team save percentage. Ottawa had a worse power play, but both were brutal. Like, the Hurricanes are a 95% PK team in the postseason. 95%.
And think about how many 5-on-3s the Sens had, and not just short 5-on-3s either. Those were lengthy 5-on-3s where the Ottawa Senators cleared it out of their own zone more than the Carolina Hurricanes penalty killers did. And you might think that's a diss to the penalty killers. No, the exact opposite. They're killing penalties so well. The Sens power play players on a 5-on-3, their best opportunities and their best thought processes were, let's force a risky sauce pass to someone so risky and so bad that we end up clearing it out of our own zone.
Yes, and it did not work for either team. The one place where it was way in favor of the Ottawa Senators, again, this is versus Philadelphia, was the amount of high danger chances Ottawa was able to get. 50 high danger shot attempts for Ottawa. Philadelphia was only able to muster 34 high danger shot attempts. And how many of those shot attempts end up in the netting anyways? Because Slavin or Chatfield, any of the defensemen on the Hurricanes just get a stick on it like they do absolutely everything. So I'd agree. It made me feel a little bit better, but not enough where I'm like, okay, we'll rest on our laurels. We'll be better next year. It'll be okay.
No, come on. That made you feel more than a little bit better. Because if Philly gets that one win, then you've got nothing to stand on. Like that, it was big that they got swept, especially Ross. The Carolina Hurricanes are the first team in the modern NHL Stanley Cup playoff era to sweep both series. And I looked it up. The least amount of games it's taken a team to win the cup. Do you know this, Ross?
No.
What's your guess?
4 losses, so 20 games.
Nope. It is 18. The 87-88 Oilers went 16-2 on the way to their Stanley Cup final. So, I mean, or a Stanley Cup championship, I should say. The Carolina Hurricanes are on pace for that. Ross, they have so much time off. They're making extensions. They're doing off-season work in between series. They just signed Mark Jankowski to a 2-year extension because the general manager's sitting there being like, we got how many days until our next game, until the next series starts? Yeah, let's start checking off some of those boxes for extensions and get that done now. Insane.
Pretty incredible. And you look at what they're waiting for. It's either going to be Buffalo or Montreal. The Habs with a big win on home ice last night, 6-2. They've won the last 2 games now by a combined score of 11-3 after losing game 1. The earliest that series could finish would be this Thursday. And then you'd think they're at least getting 2 days off, you'd imagine. After
so
that,
Saturday is the earliest start.
The absolute earliest.
Absolute.
They could have like a full week and a half off, and it brings me back to when Ottawa beat Buffalo in 5 games in the Eastern Conference Final. Detroit and Anaheim went 7, and it was way too long of a break for the Sens. But with the way Carolina plays, everything is so high pressure all over the ice. I think this is going to be great for them. So I'm going to say the reason why I said it makes me feel a bit better, it could make me feel a lot better if they do the same to whoever beats Buffalo or Montreal.
Yeah, that would be nice. But what's different here, Ross, is I think it's a different scenario than in the past because the Carolina Hurricanes, they've already swept a series, your Ottawa Senators, and they've already done that break and managed that and had the momentum going into the next series as well. Like most teams that get a sweep and then have to wait, that's the first time they're having a break like this and having to manage that. Whereas now the Hurricanes, they're like, we just did this. I assume Rod Brind'Amour has some sort of system where he's managing both rest and trying to keep intensity up for these guys. So I don't think we're going to see that same kind of, oh man, they've been sitting waiting while a hungry, battle-tested team comes to meet them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, also, you got to look at the Hurricanes and you're like, well, yeah, they win 2 rounds like every year. Who cares if they win 2 rounds? If you're a Canes fan, they just can't find a way out of the Eastern Conference Finals. So maybe that's where you're like, oof, can they figure that one out now?
Well, they don't have the Florida Panthers standing in their way. So that's
a big one. Or the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, big weight off their chest or off their back, and they're going to be able to, I think, get through to the Stanley Cup final. Right now, they're the betting odds to win the Stanley Cup. Makes sense. They're the only team that's already advanced to the 3rd round. They're also the only undefeated team after the Minnesota Wild spanked the Colorado Avalanche 5-1 in Game 3. Must be nice to win Game 3 at home after you lose the first 2 games of a series, but that was awesome. And that's too good of a matchup to be almost done after 3 games. So I'm glad Minnesota got that win. We'll see what's in store for those 2 teams tonight over at FanDuel. Colorado, a heavy favorite on the road tonight, -140 to get that done. It is the only game tonight in the National Hockey League. Tomorrow, Montreal will host Buffalo and Vegas will host Anaheim after the Ducks. They needed that one in Game 4. Couldn't be going back to Vegas down 3-1. They knocked that series up 2 games apiece. And I'm hoping that one goes the distance for content and just for the a great hockey that we're seeing out there. By the way, Mason McTavish was back in the lineup after his healthy scratch. Lots of great debates from our show on Friday about the pros, and I think cons probably took the cake of bringing in Mason McTavish. What did you take of the reaction to our conversation on Friday?
Well, Ross, we've been doing our court cases debates, me versus you, and I would say I'm up 2-0 here. Brady and Timmy should be separated. Mason McTavish, not the proper fit for the Ottawa Senators. So we do have a new target to look at where we'll see if we're on opposite sides of the courtroom on this one. But I would say most people followed in my line of thinking, being like, hey, if we're going to go get a top 6 forward, if we're going to go use assets to acquire someone, the priority has to be finding someone that can play with Timmy. And I like Mason McTavish. I think he's a good player, but he is not the guy to play with Timmy.
I do think it's a little more likely that Mason McTavish is traded this summer versus the player we're going to feature on today's show, and that's Alexis Lafreniere, the first overall pick from that 2020 draft. The Senators, could they monopolize the 2020 draft?
That'd be sick.
They've already got 4 players on their active roster from that draft class, and we'll see if that trend can continue. But what would the Rangers want from the Ottawa Senators? What type of player has Lafreniere been at the NHL level? And does he fit the profile of a player that can thrive with Tim Stützle? We'll try to answer those questions next. We'll get into Senators at the World Championships, Sens prospects in action across the CHL and the Championship Series. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Rocket Money. Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? Well, you're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. But that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all of your subscriptions in one spot and can help you cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending, so you can actually see where your money's going. And you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. Just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Hims. ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point, and that's exactly why Hims offers a straightforward way to handle it. Hims connects you with a licensed healthcare provider online, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process that makes it easier to take care of yourself. The whole process is simple. You just complete a quick online intake and provider reviews your information. If treatment's right for you, it ships directly to your door in a discreet package, which makes the whole experience feel private and stress-free. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonnhl. That's hims.com/lockedonnhl for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonnhl. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. Hims is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen each and every day, helping the Locked On Podcast Network become the #1 sports podcast network. All right, Pilsy, we are going to continue our trade targets, and this will go on for the next number of weeks, months, not every day, but when we do, we are going to order it one at a time. Do we like them more or less than the players we've done before in terms of a fit to the Senators, in terms of the cost to acquire? And as we move on, we will get to our top 10, top 12, and when transaction season really kicks off, we'll go through it all in one spot, and I look forward to doing just that. Today, it's Alexis Lafrenière, 24 years old, former first overall pick. He's already got 6 NHL seasons under his belt, 462 games played. He has 116 goals, 250 points. This year, he tied his career high with 57 points. That's right. He's never hit 60 in his career. What are your thoughts on the player and the fit potentially with the Ottawa Senators?
I like the player and I like the fit, Ross. I don't think we're going to be on different sides of this argument. I think both of us really like the idea of targeting a guy like Alexis Lafrenière for the Ottawa Senators. And there's so many reasons. First, 24 years old, turns 25 October 11th. So starting the prime of his career, if you will. Good size, 6'2", 196, can play both wings. And he's been very healthy throughout his career. I mean, really, he's only missed 3 regular season games in his 6-year NHL career. He's able to produce in the playoffs. The last time the Rangers made the playoffs, he got 14 points in 6 games. Now, mixed results there because in previous years, 7 games, no points. And then the year before that, 20 playoff games, only 9 points. But I mean, that's going earlier on in his NHL career. And the big thing here, Ross, we talked about it. It sparked the debate. talking about a contract that Drake Batherson could get, a lot of Sens fans' minds are stuck in the past. Hey, this player, you can't have him making more than Brady, Timmy, Sanderson. Drake Batherson can't be getting all this money that you guys are talking about. That's the new age. These new players that are signing new deals are going to get more money. You got to look at percentage of the cap. Well, guess what? Alexis Lafreniere, he's already signed to an old age, if we want to call that, an old age NHL contract. He only started the first year of a 7-year deal of that contract this season. He's got 6 more years at a great price of $7.45 million. And most notably about that, Ross, diving deeper into that contract, he got a bunch of signing bonus money up front. He's already been paid an $8 million signing bonus. He got that on July 1st. Now he does have 2 more signing bonuses, one at $2 million. That'll be this July, and then one at $1 million next July. But after that, no more signing bonuses. So it's nice that those are kind of the big one, at least, has been taken care of already. Teams value that for sure.
Definitely. And it's a declining contract in terms of total salary each year after the 3rd season. He goes down in the final 3 years of his deal. He's making $6 million per year. Now, the first question that you have to ask rationally is, why would the Rangers be looking to move on from a player that they've put these years of developmental concentration into, and a guy who seemingly is on the right track, a guy that hit a tie for his career high? And I would point to 2 things. One, something stinks in the New York Rangers right now. They moved on from Panarin, but they haven't fully committed to a rebuild. And even if they do, Lafreniere could be a good starting piece for that at 24 years old. So if they are moving him, you would think it would be for multiple pieces, maybe a young roster player and a draft pick and or a prospect. You'd want, if you're the Rangers, you'd want to have more quantity while not giving up that much quality in the NHL piece, and hoping that those prospects, those little magical beans, can turn into legit players for them down the stretch. But another thing is, when a top pick hasn't popped after 5 or 6 years, sometimes there's people in the organization that kind of sour on the player and just say, hey, I don't know if this is really the guy we want to build around. And that's a question that Rangers, their fans, their GM, their organization is going to have to decide. But if Alexis Lafreniere's name is available this offseason, it's definitely a guy the Senators should call about. Now, let's get this out of the way, because I know there's going to be some soft tampering going on in Rangers land. Brady Tkachuk is completely unavailable, including in this trade. I would say especially in this trade. You're not moving him for Lafreniere. To put it in perspective, Brady Tkachuk had more points this season than Lafreniere's ever had in his career. And Brady missed 22 games and had 2 more points than Lafreniere did. So let's get that off the table right now. I will say, though, this is the type of deal where Ridley Gregg would be on the table for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need good pieces to get Lafreniere.
Oh, Pillsy, that takes away the monopoly on the 2020 draft.
Do we want the 28th overall pick of that draft or the 1st overall pick, Ross?
Let's go with 1.
We can do that. Yeah, I think
1, 3, 5. Who went 7? You're next, fella.
Who did go 7 of that draft?
Oh, man. We should know that. That's a draft we put the most concentration calories in. No, we're actually going to take a pass on that. Alexander Holtz was 7th overall.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. That's funny how that worked out. But yeah, I think it starts with Ridley Gregg. You're getting a younger player if you're the New York Rangers. He's under control for a couple years at a good contract. And he kind of fits the style that I think they want to transition their game to, especially like you got a guy like JT Miller there. Like they want kind of these scrappy guys that can help them change the style of play that they have. You probably have to include a pick, I would say a 1st round pick. And then also the Rangers probably want a prospect there as well. So you're probably going to have to give up a good prospect to get that. So you're looking at Ridley Gregg, a 1st, and a good prospect. That to me, I think would be where the conversation starts, but maybe even more than that, Ross, because the New York Rangers can be like, look,
there's no rush.
Yeah, and this guy's signed to a great deal. He's still young. He's a good player. He's like, is he meeting expectations of 1st overall? You could say no. I think that's fair. But it's not like this guy, for his value right now, he's meeting expectations for his value of what his contract is for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And when you're talking about Lafreniere, I think it has to be brought up, though, that his points inflated heavily down the stretch this season on a team that was completely out of it, dead last in the Eastern Conference. Like, does that weigh in at all? Because this is a player that before the Olympic break had 12 goals, 32 points, dash 15 in 57 games. And then after the Olympics, pressure's off. They're not playing for anything down the stretch. The opposite of what Ottawa was doing, where every game felt like a game 7. And he had 12 goals, the same amount that he had pre-Olympics in only 25 games. He was a point per game player, was +8, was shooting 21%, an unsustainably high shooting percentage. Like, how much does that factor in to what you're looking ahead at? Or is it like, hey, he's 24 years old. This could be a taking off point for him where next year he can put up 70 plus.
I don't put that much stock into the whole how do players perform when they're out of it. I certainly think it's something to look at and monitor. But like I said, Ross, during the playoffs, the last time he was in it, which is the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs, in 16 games, he had 14 points. So when the pressure's on, he can also contribute. And the New York Rangers just had a weird season. I think the expectations and pressure on that team, that city, that organization were high, and the vibes around there was just weird, I think. So I think once they were out of it and they knew they were out of it, that probably changed the attitude and the way a lot of other players approach the game. And I bet if you looked as a team, they changed a lot of those guys. Their play was a lot better down the stretch as well. So for me, that's not something I look at as a blaring red flag.
Okay, because for me, it is a little bit more so. And I'm even going to go a little bit further than just the Olympic break. When Artemi Panarin was taken out of the lineup, which was a couple games before he was ultimately traded, Lafreniere's numbers started to take off. Now, is that more opportunity? You could say so based on his time on ice, but I'm a little wary about that being something that could go in the wrong direction. Let's put it that way. And that you might be kicking yourself. Like there's definitely a bit of risk if you're giving up a package that valuable for a guy like this.
Yeah, but I mean, there's risk giving up valuable assets no matter what, typically. And I think this could be a move that makes sense for him. You mentioned he's a Quebec guy, so closer to home. He's been a first overall pick in a top or original 6 market, one of the biggest markets in the league. That's a lot of pressure there. So maybe shifting to somewhere where it's a little, I don't want to say quieter, because obviously Ottawa, it's the only team in town. So it gets a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention, but certainly different than New York City. I think that's fair to say for sure. And then Ross, the question we haven't talked about yet, can he be a fit with Tim Stützle?
Yes.
And I think the answer is yes, for sure. Again, go check out NHL Edge. They got lots of great stuff there. I always look at the skating speed. Now, is he a world-class speedster? No, not necessarily, but he's certainly a good skater. He's in the 55th percentile of max skating speed, which I don't put that much stock into. 76th in 22 plus miles per hour burst, 71st in 20 to 22 mile per hour bursts. These are percentiles. And the one that I want to key in here, Alexis Lafrenière is in the 91st percentile of 18 to 20 miles per hour bursts. And you might say, well, that's the slowest bursts of the options. Like, you can't be like, why are you targeting that? That for me shows that a player plays with consistent pace. I don't need my guy to be the fastest guy once in a while. Like, sure, that's great. You want to have that top speed. It's good to get around defenders, create opportunities for yourself. But for me, I more need a guy that's going to be consistently moving with good pace so that Tim Stützle doesn't have to wait for guys or doesn't need to feel like he needs to hang back and let those guys get ahead. This guy's going to be motoring at all times. So, and he's only 24, turning 25 in October. Like, this is exactly the type of player at exactly the time in their career, at exactly the contract you want. So check on so many boxes for why this player could be a fit for the Ottawa Senators.
Let us know in the comments on YouTube your thoughts on the player and our proposed trade really for Lafreniere if he is available this summer from the New York Rangers. But I will go ahead and say that he is number one if you're putting him and McTavish on a list of who Ottawa should be focusing their assets on if only one trade is available this off season. On the other side, we've got a pair of Sens at the World Championships. We knew that Dylan Cozens was going to represent Canada, but we've got another one. And where does Dylan Cozens fit on this Canadian roster, which is stacked with NHL talent? That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that says it all, guys. Since I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. That means less stress, less time, but more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Senators podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. If you're looking for a place that lives and breathes hockey, the Glebe Central Pub is the spot for you. Right in the heart of the Glebe, just steps from Lansdowne. It's the perfect place to catch every game, every night, as well as great food and drink and even better company. They had the shuttles going for the Ottawa Charge playoff games at the Canadian Tire Center, and that should be continuing as the Charge got a huge win in overtime, and they will await the winner between Montreal and Minnesota for the Walter Cup final. So go and watch the games at the Glebe Central Pub. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted if there will be a shuttle for the finals. And you can head there for great things every night of the week, whether it's live music with no cover ever on Saturdays, open mic night on Wednesday nights. They got trivia on Tuesday, wing night on Monday, and Thursdays are all about cheap tacos. So head there today. Head there for a good time and a long time because the vibes are free at 779 Bank Street, the GCP, the best place on earth. All right, Philsy, turning our attention internationally, where Team Canada played its first preliminary game against France, a tune-up for the World Championships that are coming up. It was 1-1 for a decent amount of time, and then Canada took over and said, no. C'est notre sport. It's our sport. Let's go. Let's start with this before we get on the Sens. Macklin Celebrini, 19 years old, is the captain of a team that has John Tavares, that has Ryan O'Reilly, a number of vets. What were your thoughts on that decision?
Initially, I did a double take, not gonna lie. I was just scrolling through Twitter, saw the picture of the three guys, Macklin, O'Reilly, Tavares, Macklin, the captain, O'Reilly and Tavares as assistants. I was like, oh, yep, that's a leadership group. And then I scrolled and I was like, wait a second. Macklin was in the middle there. That's usually where the captain goes. So scrolled back and saw it and I was like, really? They chose the 19-year-old to captain these guys. And initially, Ross, I think I got grumbly old man. I was like, what? They can't be doing this. You can't give the captain to the kid. Look at all these vets. He can't be the leader of this team, blah, blah, blah. And then I spent 15 seconds or so thinking about that. And then went, actually, good for him.
Yeah.
And then I moved on. But there was legit outrage to this decision, which is very interesting because, Ross, you mentioned it to me before we started. Sure, this is a stacked Team Canada roster, Macklin Celebrini was the only player on the Olympic team of this roster. Like, this kid is no joke. And I think if you're Hockey Canada and you're trying to usher in the next generation, obviously Crosby, we hope that's not his last Olympics, especially the way it ended. But there's a generation that's moving out and a new generation that's moving in. It's not a bad idea to put these, I don't want to say put these new kids, this new generation on a pedestal, but give them different opportunities as they start their professional international career.
Yeah, it's just interesting when you look. They have 6 players on this roster that wear letters in the NHL. 7 because Macklin has an A with the Sharks. But I just felt like it was a very strong decision because he is the future of Hockey Canada. And you do wonder, though, sometimes like how the vets would take it. Well, he then went out on the ice. It was tied at 1 going into the second period. Canada makes it 2-1, and then Celebrini assists, Celebrini goal, and it was a beauty goal. Breakaway in tight, makes a move. He led the team. He actually had a 4th point as well on a power play goal in the third period. So he's so good. He had 115 points this year in the National Hockey League. He is one of those guys where even the vets, like it's much like Matthew Schaefer, where Braden Shen, a captain, waved his no move that he wasn't going to, because he wanted to play with this kid. Celebrini has that same effect. So I was not surprised that they went with that decision. I was maybe surprised in the right word. I was shocked. I was surprised from that standpoint. But when you look at the numbers, you look at the future of Hockey Canada, this is the guy. Sens fans curious about where Dylan Cozens fits in on this team. It was obviously just the first preliminary game, so it's subject to much change. But he was playing third line center on a line where John Tavares was playing left wing, and former Senator, #Sens Abroad, Connor Brown was on the right side. I like that trio. I think it's got some good pop.
Yeah, and then Tavares and Brown would have played together on the Leafs, right? Or did they miss each other?
I think
that's close.
Maybe one season.
Yeah. But I mean, they probably weren't on the same lines either, but they would know each other, I'm sure. So yeah, I was also a little surprised that he ends up at center with all the centermen on this team.
Yeah, so was I. You look, especially Tavares is so good at faceoffs. Like he
still might take the draws
for sure. Yeah. A part of me was kind of hoping that Cozens would play wing just so we got to look at it, because if you can't make that big trade, and we're going to obviously keep going through trade targets, like he could be a fast shooter on the right side that could play with Timmy.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that terrible.
Especially when you're paying Pinto 7.5 sheets, he could be your number 2 center.
Exactly. And it's not like Cozens is a guy that you're like, oh, but he needs to play center. He's so good defensively. Like that's not really his skill set. So yeah, normally, Ross, when people bring up the move Cozens to the wing, I don't love it just because he's been a center for so long and that's where he's comfortable. And I like the 1-2-3 slotting of Timmy, Cozens, Pinto, but sometimes you got to get creative. And we talked about it. How many middle 6 or third line players does this team have? So if you want to find space for all of them, that might be a way to do it.
And it would open up an opportunity for Ridley Gregg to slide back into center, right? Because if you have Dylan Cozens at right wing with Timmy and Brady, or Timmy and whoever, then you've got Pinto as a second line center, Ridley Gregg is your third line center, and then it opens up a wing spot as well in the bottom 6. I just think that there would be some merit to at least thinking about it. I'm not saying you have to try it in a game, but there could be something to that. We'll see if throughout the tournament Dylan Cozens does move to wing after the sour taste of the Olympics. I'm going to be dialed in for this tournament because it's been too long since Canada has won an international event, and I'm not counting the Four Nations because that was an NHL event that was put on there. But
and there was only 4 teams in that tournament,
right? And the U.S. got the win last year. Czechia the year before. Been since 2023 that Team Canada has won the World Championship. So we gotta wake up to this one. This is the year Canada takes back the gold medal at the IIHF World Championships. It's going to be a tough tournament, though. There's some good teams, including Finland. Did you know Alex Barkov's playing in this tournament?
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
No games all season. He's ready to go.
That's good.
He gets some games in, and they also are bringing Nikolas Matinpalo. What a 24-month cycle for this guy. Last minute addition to the Four Nations, gets into a couple of games there, goes to the Olympics, barely plays, but earns a bronze medal, finds a full-time role on the Ottawa Senators down the stretch and into the playoffs, where I thought he played his best hockey. Yep. And now he's going there. And if you look at Finland, there's obviously the caveat that players can still be added to the roster. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Now that Dallas is out, I'm not sure if Esa Lindell or Miro Heiskanen are thinking about going. That would obviously bump him down.
Or Rantanen.
Right, but on the blue line, like, he could be playing like a decent amount of minutes here, which would be great to see for him.
Definitely, yeah. The more he plays, the better, in my opinion. And if you're Matinpalo and his agent, you got to be looking like, man, things have really turned around from. There was thoughts that Matinpalo might not return with the Ottawa Senators before he came back. Like, it wasn't that crazy to be like, he'll probably just go back to Europe and that's where his career will stay. But his stock has really risen.
He might be on the top pair, dude. You look at it; these are the guys who are on the blue line right here. Ville Heinola, no. I'll just say yes or no whether you think this guy will play ahead or behind Matinpalo. Henri Jokiharju, maybe, maybe. I mean, I'm trying to be conservative with this. Mikko Lehtinen, he was the guy who signed with Edmonton, then went back over to Switzerland. Olli Mata with the Calgary Flames. Ville Starijärvi out of Switzerland. You've got Mikkel Sepala out of Czech Republic playing in the league. And the only other NHLer is Urho Vakanainen with the Rangers. Like, Matinpalo might be a top pair guy for Finland at this tournament.
Yeah, probably a top 4. So that's all right. I like it.
And their starting goalie, Joonas Korpisalo.
Let's go.
Okay, so yeah, only 2. Are you surprised that more guys didn't go over from the Sens?
Well, I mean, initially, but then you start thinking about it. Like, Sandy is hurt. Shabbat, hurt. Brady just had a kid. Timmy, heck of a year for him, probably gassed. And I feel like he has an off-season routine that he likes to get into. Although I believe he's still in Ottawa. Wasn't he at the Charge game?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so he's still in Ottawa. And then other guys like Batherson, I thought would have gone. Batherson surprised me, and maybe that's getting ahead of myself. Maybe he didn't get invited. I assume he would have, though.
Yeah, I think so.
But other than that, like, those are probably maybe Linus.
Maybe.
Yeah, but when you start thinking about it, it's not that crazy that those are the 2 guys.
Yeah, the one guy I would have thought is Shane Pinto. Right, he was there last year.
Yeah,
won the World Championships with them. Didn't make the Olympic team. He was a guy I thought maybe, and obviously contract situations play into it. Jordan Spence, that's the reason why he declined the invitation. So it's light, but I'm still fired up for it. I think Team Canada is going to be really fun to watch. So I'm looking forward to it. All the games are at 10:20 a.m. So perfect thing to have on your second screen at the cubicle, or throw it on while you're doing chores if you're off that day. So I'm excited for it. And it's a kind of tournament that's like a little bit longer than the Olympics too. So it's going to be exciting to see. Canada actually opens up against Sweden on the 15th. So that's this upcoming Friday. Canada will play its first game at the World Championships. Looking forward to that. Pillsy, we could see the final game of the OHL Championships, and Sens prospects front and center. Matthew Andonovski in game 2 gets the overtime winner. Gabe Eliasson, couple penalties, but he's been an even player.
Ross, you're bearing the lead. Gabe Eliasson gets his first ever OHL playoff point. I mean, a massive assist for him. So that's nice to open the account for Gabe Eliasson in playoff points.
Yeah. Did you see the highlight of the goal? For a split second, I thought it was the guy who fed the teammate in on a breakaway. He was almost off the ice. I was surprised they gave him a +1 for it. He just gave an outlet pass, skated off the ice, and the puck was in the net. But hey, it's a point. It's his first playoff point in like 40 games, because they had a decent run.
I think it was that was his 35th playoff game.
Nice. I mean, he's noticeable out there, eh? When you watch, like he's hard to miss.
See him. Yeah, you're gonna see him.
He's hard to miss. He's battling. He's doing his thing. Luke Ellenis has 3 points in 4 games after returning, missing the whole year, being able to come back. And you said throw him in the Lafreniere trade. You had good reason to as well.
Yeah, if the New York Rangers are looking at acquiring a prospect from the Ottawa Senators, it has to be Luke Ellenis. He played for the North York Rangers, the Kitchener Rangers.
It's only right.
I mean, this guy is a Ranger. I think once hockey's done, he might be going to Texas, maybe as a relief pitcher or something.
Oh, geez. You don't think he could be a park ranger?
Yeah, well, that's later on in life.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's the retirement job?
Settle down. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that. And out in the Quebec League, I mean, we're basically a Lucas Beckman fan page at this point. Every game, this guy's doing something spectacular. I got a couple of Luca Beckman stats here to run off of you. By the way, they are tied now 1-1. He was incredible in game 2. I watched much of that game. He made 23 saves on 25 shots, 3-2 victory for the Sags over Moncton. And get this with Luca Beckman. Now I got two stats here that I'm pulling up. That's the old Jeopardy time music here. All right. Luca Beckman also earned an assist in that game.
Oh, let's go.
It's his 3rd helper this postseason and the 7th in his QMJHL playoff career. It moves to 2nd all time in points in the playoffs by a QMJHL goalie.
Dude, this guy does it all. He's like, I'm not only stopping the puck, I'm providing offense here. What do you know how far off he is from the first goalie's points?
1 point.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's a storyline to follow here as we continue. Thank you to Jeffrey Brandow, who's covering that series for the stats there. He's been unreal. He's got a .930 save percentage. So he stopped 23 out of 25 shots, a .920 save percentage, and his playoff percentage went down. He's got 3 shutouts, a 1.57 goals against. Since being traded to Chicoutimi, he's now played 31 games. He has a 26-4 record with 7 shutouts.
Shish. Wow.
7 shutouts in 31 games. This guy is incredible, and I really hope that they can win that series so that we can see him in the Memorial Cup.
Definitely. And I mean, he's going to be playing up against at least one Ottawa Senators prospect from the OHL side of it.
Well, and he's already playing against one too. You got Eric Wallenius out there with Moncton. He actually robbed Wallenius in game 1 of that series. I found that to be a little fun, little Sens prospect on prospect crime. Eric Wallenius, by the way, is +10 in 17 playoff games with 8 points, and he had an assist in that game 1 win. So no matter what, we're going to have one Sens representative in the OHL and one Sens representative in the Quebec League for the Memorial Cup. So it'll be fun, man. We need to keep the train rolling after Blake Montgomery took home the Mem Cup last year with the London Knights. All right, Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me, just sticking on the OHL championship. Shout out David Foote, our guy Footy on the call. Electric. That guy is absolutely crushing it. I've been watching the highlights and hearing Footy call those goals is so much fun.
Yeah, he's such a beauty. He's going to be calling NHL games sooner rather than later. That guy's all time. And he'll join us after the series to break down what he saw from the Senators prospects. All right, that's it for us today. Thanks so much for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. Please subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you listen to podcasts. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.